So everyone tells you that you should be vulnerable and you should be open, but the internal battle with that is, how are you supposed to protect yourself if you're being vulnerable, right? How do we do both of these things at the same time? Well, the truth is that we do need to do both of them, and there's a very specific way in which we can do this healthily without shutting ourselves down, without putting up walls, but with maintaining our clarity and having the awareness that we need. And so really, this affects us, of course, in our relationships, whether you're married or looking for the one, but it also affects you in your work life, and you might not even realize it. So I'm going to go over both aspects of that and give you some very strategic steps that you can take to shift this dynamic in your life. Now, if you're new here, I'm Ketra Thompson, and I'm a certified master hypnotist and a relationship recovery coach, helping my clients focus on going back to what caused them to put up these walls or create these behaviors or coping mechanisms, and shift the beliefs around that so that we can address attachment style, we can address triggers, all kinds of stuff. So if you'd like to learn more, you can check out the link. It's in the description below. And you can also set up there a totally complimentary consultation call so that we can have a phone call and I can really help you get clarity about what you're dealing with and make my best recommendation. So you can check that all out below. And as always, I really appreciate your support. So if this resonates with you, if you'd like to be notified when I put out new content, please click like and subscribe. Hit the notifications bell so you can get all of the updates when I put out new videos. Now, the first thing that you want to do is really the step one of having this awareness is that you want to realize that these protective functions were likely created in your childhood. We are really programming our subconscious mind from birth to age 7, and our brain is basically in the hypnosis state. We are in the theta brainwave state during those years. And we're programming these beliefs with very little discernment or understanding. And so when that happens, it becomes an issue because we are assigning meaning to these experiences that aren't necessarily accurate. If we didn't get what we needed in some way, even if we had great parents, we might have assigned the meaning that, I'm not worthy, or I'm not lovable, or I'm not good enough, or I'm safer by myself, or whatever these beliefs are, because we just don't have any discernment during those years. And so we need to have that realization that a lot of our coping mechanisms and behaviors and protective functions are really happening based on old stuff. Now, the next realization is that regardless of your attachment style, secure is, the ideal, but most people are struggling with some level, if they are dealing with this issue, of anxious attachment style or avoidant attachment style. And it's to realize that both of those are self-protection masks. They are acting in a way that keeps you thinking that you're protecting yourself, but they're actually sabotaging your success because there's so much fear around vulnerability. So that awareness is really big. So the reality in this awareness, which is really this first step is your own self-awareness, is knowing that self-protection is actually fear. And this fear is keeping you trapped and keeping you unable to see potential that might be right in front of you. Now, once you have this awareness, now you really want to tune into yourself. So step 2 is really that, tuning into yourself. It's honoring your intuition, and it's not judging the other person. So when we get the focus off the other person, now we can really look at ourselves. We can be honest with ourselves because we're no longer projecting onto them, and we are looking at what part we're playing and why we are accepting or withholding the truth of what we want or need or feel. We can really start focusing on the part we're playing. So instead of focusing maybe on the other person as much, I want you to ask yourself, why am I willing to take part in something that does not meet my needs? And a big part of this is, am I being honest? Have I just expected this person to read my mind, or have I been clear about what my needs are? But that really is an issue if you don't know what your needs are. It's an issue if you aren't checking in with yourself. So I'm going to focus on that a little bit more in a minute. So the step 3 part of this is the boundaries. Now, healthy boundaries, this comes with self-awareness and self-acceptance. And honestly, once we're no longer afraid to show our real selves to people, we weed out the people that don't work for us much quicker. And as we're authentic, not in a way that just spews every detail of our lives and ourselves and, verbally dumps on other people to see like, oh, can they handle it? No, that's not what I mean. I mean being authentic to who we are when we show up in the world, regardless of who we're interacting with. Maybe it's the barista at the coffee shop, but we are being our authentic selves. We're being present in the moment, warm and open and loving, if that's who we want to be. We are being that instead of letting these old beliefs drive our behavior. And we're also speaking up about what we really feel and believe. So let's say you're with someone that has a different view about something that's important to you. Maybe it's a big political thing, or maybe it's a social issue, or a moral issue. Instead of just kind of nodding and agreeing when they share that, you would actually say, that's not how I see it. I really don't agree with that. And you would be honest to them about who you really are. And so this is part of boundaries that you don't have to start telling people about. These are the boundaries that you are naturally showing to the world by letting them see the real you, letting them see what matters to you, and being real about who you are. And that can feel really scary if you don't have self-awareness and you don't have self-acceptance. You might be judging yourself, wondering if you sound stupid or something like that. And that's going to keep you pulled back into this little shell, pretending to be what you think the world wants you to be, pretending to, wear that mask and show up in a certain way so that you can be accepted. But that's not real acceptance, because that's not the real you. So we definitely want to have those healthy boundaries, but we really can't implement those very easily without that self-awareness and the self-acceptance. And so we want to tune into ourselves and what we're feeling in a situation. It's really important. So let me talk for just a minute about how this might play out in your career, your work life. I have a lot of clients that do not know how to speak up at work. They don't share where they feel they're being under-supported, or they don't share new ideas that they have that they think would work well. They don't really just open up. And because of it, they're missing opportunities. They have this great idea, but they never share it because they're afraid of judgment. And someone else has the idea, gets the credit and the praise and the promotion, right? So when we aren't being vulnerable, we are missing opportunities. But it's that fear of judgment. What if we're wrong? What if we make a suggestion that doesn't go well? The only way you're going to be okay with doing that is if you are seeing yourself in a compassionate way. When you can look at you and go, oh, I am human. I am allowed to make mistakes. I don't have to be perfect. And it's okay. That is when you really have the ability to share with the world vulnerably. Now, you can stay protecting yourself in relationships by playing the fake part, but you're going to find that you end up disappointed because you have silent contracts with the person you're with, that if I do this, you'll do that. Instead of having open dialogue and communication and letting them see the real you, and you really miss out on having a best friend for a partner because you haven't let them into your world, your inner world. And in the work environment, you're missing out on possible promotion or even creating a workspace that flows better and works better because you have spoken up. So when we aren't able to see ourselves as human and allowed to make mistakes, we're going to keep trying to wear that mask. And so let me talk about some ways that you can shift this. But first, I really want to touch on why the hypnotherapy process is so incredible, which I'm always talking about. But in this case, That process allows you to go back on the subconscious level and reframe these old beliefs that are keeping you in fear. These are the things that are causing you to be triggered in conflict, the things that make you feel insecure and judged, and so you get defensive and you blame and you project and you shut down and you pull away and you think you've got to handle things on your own. Whatever that belief is, hypnotherapy allows you in a custom session to go back and reframe those things where they were created so you can actually have a new operating system that allows you to move forward without all of those old beliefs beating you up. You're basically mentally bullying yourself with these old beliefs. And so this is why it creates so much traction and so much change in your life, because you're dealing with it at the root cause. And so we don't want to keep living our lives in this self-protection mode, because at the end of your life, you don't want to look back and go, I missed out on depth, on growth, on really spiritual level connection with a partner, with someone that I was myself with, that I was vulnerable with, and that really knew me, my very best friend and my partner. That would be a really sad way to end your life, all because you were too afraid to be vulnerable, too afraid to let someone in, too afraid that you weren't good enough, too afraid that it was going to hurt. And anything worth doing does have the risk of hurt. But we can't get over that hurdle if we aren't dealing with those things that are holding us back. So, of course, if you want to learn more about that, check out that link in the description. And I also want to go into some really actionable steps that you can do on your own now. Okay, so the steps you can take to actually shift this on your own. Here's the DIY steps. So first of all, start focusing on how you feel in another person's presence, not just the excitement of being with someone that has something exciting about them, that is giving you attention, or is maybe, everything you thought that someone should be, but you don't even know them enough to know that truth. So you need to focus on how you feel in their presence. Is it all about them? Do they take the time to discuss things with you? Are they interested in you and your world and your perspectives? Is there a back and forth, kind of a volleying of information, of mutual interest? Really pay attention to what's happening and how you feel. So how you feel is a big deal. Don't dismiss it. But the clarity part is going to come when you collect information. That is the second part. So when you're getting to know someone, even in a work environment that might be new, we sometimes make assumptions about the people around us, what they think, what they feel, who they are, maybe that they're like us. Instead of doing that, I want you to collect data. Watch how you're treated. Watch for consistency. Watch to see what this person is like. If they say they're going to do something, whether they follow through or not, whether they are prioritizing you, whether or not that connection and growing in that depth is a priority to them, if shared experiences are, and just gather that data. So consistency takes time. And so seeing the truth of who someone is also takes time. So you need to remind yourself to be patient, to watch, and to watch without assuming and projecting outward onto that person, but instead watch with your own feelings in mind, what you're feeling when you're with them, and the patterns of their behavior, whether or not they really do what they say they're going to do, and if they're really on the same page as you. And so you're gathering information so you can make an informed decision. You want to make this informed decision because if you make a snap decision out of nowhere, you're making it based on assumptions. And so you want to give yourself the time to gather the information, but you definitely do not want to ignore how you feel in someone's presence. Your gut feeling is real. And you should be paying attention to it, even if sometimes it steers you in a direction that keeps you a little more masked or shut down. You want to be aware of those things and ask yourself if you're being your authentic self in these situations. But at the end of the day, you do need to pay attention to how you feel in their presence and what their actions are. Even in the workplace, pay attention to how you're feeling in the presence of the people you work with and what their consistent actions are what their responses are to other people who share or speak out or whatever. You can gather information that can help calm your nervous system a little bit. So anyway, until next time, I hope you curate a life by your own design.